All right, so let's work out. This is practice assignment number 6, part 1, and this is what you can expect to uh, see is that sometimes you have to create an equation based on information that's given to you, and so this is kind of more like a skills practice, making sure that you know how to take some information given to you and be able to create an equation. So m represents the slope, and this is given to you, and what this notation represents is that a point that falls on this line is 4, 5. So that's where my x value is 4 and my y value is 5. You learned that notation coordinate pairs back in 5th grade, and then used it a lot more in 6th grade. And then in order to create an equation, I need to know what the y-intercept is. And of course, we're still using slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And so you're going to do a whole lot of substitution here. And let me show you what we're doing. Is we're going to sub in our slope, which is -2. That's going to go in for m. So now my equation looks like y equals -2x plus b. And now what I'm going to do is sub in the coordinates for the point that they've given me that lands on the line of for this equation I'm going to create. So the first number in my coordinate pair represents my x value, so that's going to go in for my x value right there. So now I'm left with y equals -2 times a +4 plus b. And you see, substitution in math works just like sports. X went out of the game, so he left, and +4 came into the game for him. So, because sometimes kids want to still write that X is still here. Well, actually, X is no longer in the game. We've got this +4 that took his place. Okay, so now let's sub in. I've already subbed in the slope, and I've subbed in my x value. Now I'm going to sub in my y value, which is 5, and he's going to go in for y, way over here. So now my equation looks like this. 5 equals -2 times 4 plus b. And now what we have here is an equation most 7th graders would be able to solve, because we're going to solve for b. We're going to find out what my y-intercept is based on the information that they gave me. So -2 times 4, you got to think back to 7th grade on how you multiply with a negative, but it becomes -8. And don't forget your plus b, and over here we still have 5 all by himself. And we're trying to get b all by itself, so we're solving for b. So we're going to use the inverse operation to get rid of this -8. Well, the opposite of a -8 is a +8. So I add 8 there, and I'm going to add 8 over here. And +5 and a +8 is going to be a +13. So now I see that b equals, oops, kind of made a straight mark there. b equals 13. So whenever I create my equation, I'm going to still use y equals mx plus b. And remember that my m was -2, so I have y equals -2x. And then my b, now that I know what b is, it's +13, so plus 13. So this right here is my equation based on the info that they've given. Now in the rest of these, I'll go a little quicker, so you know it's pretty straightforward, and I'll go slower on the first one and kind of explain what's going on. mx plus b. I actually just taught this with the kids. They're in connections right now, and they did really well on this, better than I even anticipated. If people are making mistakes, it's simple arithmetic mistakes, but they've got the concept down. So my slope equals 2 in this case, so I'm going to sub in for 2, and now my equation looks like this. Y equals 2x plus b, and then I'm going to sub in my x value. Okay, he's going to go in for x, so now it looks like this. Y equals 2 times 5 plus b. And then the last one is I'm going to sub in my y value, and he goes in right there. So now my equation looks like this. 7 equals 2 times 5 plus b. And now I'm just going to solve this. I'm going to multiply 2 and 5 equals 10. And bring down the rest of my equation. And I'm going to use the inverse. The opposite of a positive 10 is a negative 10. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. And that way b is all by itself. And so a positive 7 and a negative 10, you got to think back to 7th grade, this is going to equal a negative 3. Because if you have 10 negatives and 7 positives, I have more negatives. That's why it's a negative 3. Okay? And so b equals negative 3. So now whenever I create my equation, y equals mx plus b, I am going to say my slope was 2. I see it right up here. So y equals 2x. And then my y-intercept is a negative 3. So I'm going to say minus 3. So here is my equation answer right there. Number 3. Again, I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. I'm going to sub in my slope. So now my equation looks like this. Y equals 2x plus b. And then I'm going to sub in my x value. So y equals 2 times negative 1 plus b. And then I'm going to sub in my y value. Negative 6 equals 2 times negative 1 plus b. Now I'm going to solve for b. So 2 times a negative 1 is a negative 2. Bring down the rest of my equation. And the opposite of a negative 2 is adding 2. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides to get b by itself. I'm left with b equals a negative 4 in this case, because a negative 6 and a positive 2 leaves me with a negative 4. So whenever I create my equation, it is y equals 2x, because 2 is my slope, minus 4, because negative 4 is my y-intercept.